This is why narcissists hide their emotions after hurting you. Unbelievable but true. So, you've been broken, cut open by the cruelty of a narcissist. Maybe your trust was shattered, your spirit crushed, and now you're left sitting there, asking yourself, how could they do this? How could anyone be so heartless, so merciless? It's tempting to believe they're empty inside, right? Easier to think of them as hollow creatures, soulless villains who feel nothing at all. After all, who could knowingly inflict wound after wound and still carry any real humanity within them. But here's the part no one wants to face. Narcissists do feel. They feel deeply, sometimes even more intensely than you'd ever guess. The difference is, they bury those emotions. They shove them into the darkest corners of their mind until they are almost invisible, even to themselves. And that concealment, that constant repression, is where the real danger lies. Because here's the paradox. When they wound you, something inside them stays too. It's not empathy, not the way you experience pain, but their own warped version of it. That sting doesn't simply vanish. It lingers, it rots, it gnaws at them from the inside. Still, they'll never admit it. To face those feelings would mean dismantling the false self they've spent their whole lives protecting. And for them, that truth is unbearable, like staring straight into the abyss. This isn't speculation or wishful thinking. This is the raw machinery of human behavior at its most destructive. It's a cycle that feeds itself, a downward spiral that stains every relationship they touch. And at the center of it all lies a secret most people never see. The emotions they bury are not gone. They're the fuel that powers everything they do. 1. The secret inner world of narcissists. Let's clear up a myth. Narcissists are not machines. They are not devoid of feelings. Sure, they don't express emotion like the rest of us, but the absence of expression is not the absence of experience. In truth, they often feel more than they can handle, and instead of processing it, they shove it into a vault deep inside their psyche. Imagine this. They're carrying an emotional time bomb, sealed in a box with no release valve. Every trigger, every moment of vulnerability, every slight to their ego is another tick on the clock. So what do? They lock it up tighter, convincing themselves it's gone. But it isn't. It's ticking. And here's the sinister twist. Those suppressed emotions don't disappear. They ferment. Shame, guilt, regret, envy, all of it festers in the dark, warping their perceptions and driving their compulsions. This is why they manipulate, why they lie, why they gaslight. It's all an elaborate defense system to make sure that box never cracks open. The truth is, narcissists are like emotional hoarders. They keep stacking unresolved pain on top of unresolved pain, hiding it under layers of arrogance and denial. But the more they hoard, the more dangerous they become. They aren't lifeless monsters. They are fractured souls hiding a storm they're terrified to face. And that storm, when ignored, can devastate everything in its path. 2. Narcissism as a fortress built on shame. Want to know the core of every narcissist's identity? It's not pride. It's not even confidence. It's shame. That ego you see, that exaggerated mask of superiority, is just camouflage. Beneath it all lies a raw, festering wound of inadequacy. Their entire world is built as a fortress to keep that shame buried, to keep it from being seen. It's as if they've constructed an emotional fortress, stone by stone. Each piece isn't strength, but a disguise, layers of arrogance, denial, and deception stacked high to hide the fragile truth underneath. What they are really guarding against is not the world, but their own reflection. They dread being seen for what they secretly believe themselves to be: weak, flawed, unworthy. So they mask it with exaggerated confidence, with blinding bravado, hoping no one notices the cracks. But here's the irony. The thicker they build the walls, the weaker the whole structure becomes. It's not a fortress at all, it's a house of cards. Every encounter with reality, every glimpse of truth, shakes its foundation. And one day, inevitably, the whole facade will collapse, taking their carefully crafted identity down with it. That's why narcissists live in a state of constant paranoia, always watching, always fearing that someone will pierce through the illusion, that someone will expose the shame they've tried so hard to bury. The more they resist it, the deeper they lock themselves inside their own prison, a cage of shame. And it's in that prison where they become most volatile, most dangerous. 3. The magma below the mask. Hidden struggles of the narcissist. Here's what most people never realize. Every narcissist is sitting on top of an emotional volcano. Not an external one, but an inner eruption waiting to happen. Imagine shame, regret, and insecurity bubbling like molten lava beneath the surface. They know it's there. They feel the heat, but they have no idea how to release it safely. Every conversation, every criticism, every sideways glance adds more pressure, tightening the lid on that eruption. From the outside, you see detachment, coldness, indifference, but that's just their disguise. Inside, they are straining against relentless emotional pressure, doing everything they can to keep it contained. It's a desperate balancing act, because the moment the mask slips, the volcano threatens to blow. And when they feel that danger, they don't implode, they explode. They lash out, they attack, they overreact. Not because they want to destroy you, but because they are terrified of being consumed by their own pain. The eruption they are fighting is internal, but once it cracks, it scorches everyone in its path. 4. The narcissist's true addiction, validation. Let's cut through the noise. Narcissists are addicts. Not to substances, not to anything you can touch or measure, but to validation. Praise, admiration, attention. This is their drug, and they need it with the desperation of someone gasping for oxygen. Each compliment, every ounce of recognition, is like a temporary fix. It gives them a rush, a momentary high, as if they finally silence the voice inside that tells them they're not enough. But the relief never lasts. It can't. It's like tossing a single drop of water into a desert, gone before it even hits the ground. That hunger drives everything they do. They'll charm, manipulate, exaggerate, flatter, anything to keep the supply flowing. And when they receive it, they bask in it, convinced for a fleeting second that they've conquered their shame. But then the high fades, the emptiness returns, and the cycle starts again. Because validation to a narcissist isn't just nice to have, it's survival. They convince themselves the emptiness is gone, that the applause has finally filled the dark hollow inside them. But here's the cruel punchline. The moment the clapping stops, the void yawns open again, and they are off chasing the next fix. It's a treadmill they can never step off, an endless pursuit with no finish line. Because the truth is, nothing, absolutely nothing, can ever satisfy that hunger. No praise, no recognition, no standing ovation can patch the fracture in their soul. So they keep running, keep scheming, keep demanding more. And no matter how much they collect, the emptiness always creeps back in. Worse still, the harder they chase, the lonelier they become. The more they manipulate, the more people drift away. They are not just hooked on validation, they are enslaved by a mirage, a shimmering illusion that disappears the moment they reach for it. 5. The narcissist's manufactured self-image. You've seen the act, haven't you? The dazzling charm, the bold charisma, the endless boasting. The way they step into every room as though they are untouchable. At first glance, you think, wow, this person's unstoppable, brimming with confidence. But here's the reality check. That confidence, it's counterfeit, a mask. What you're really seeing is armor, carefully crafted to disguise a fragile, frightened core. Behind the swagger lies an ego so brittle it could shatter under the weight of the truth. They are terrified of being unmasked, of anyone glimpsing the small, insecure self hiding underneath. This false persona is their shield. Every arrogant smack, every controlling move is another layer of protection against exposure. And here's the saddest part. They've worn the mask so long they don't even know who they are anymore. The performance has become their identity. The thought of it cracking, of anyone seeing the rubble behind it, is a nightmare they'll do anything to prevent. So, they cling harder. They play the role louder. Because for them, survival depends on it. 6. The narcissist's shame spiral. Here's the cruel irony. The more destruction a narcissist leaves behind, the more shame they secretly accumulate. Every time they manipulate, every time they gaslight, every time they cut someone down, it all piles onto the mountain of shame they're already dragging. But don't mistake them for someone who reflects, learns, and grows. That's not how it works, hey. They don't sit with shame. They bury it. They stuff it down so far it's almost invisible, all while convincing themselves the fault lies elsewhere. The guilt? Always yours. The responsibility? Never theirs. To cope, they invent a whole alternate reality, one where they're the victim and you are the villain. They twist every story, warp every truth, until the world makes sense again in their favor. And this distorted narrative allows them to keep hurting people without ever facing the wreckage they cause. But here's the brutal twist: that shame doesn't vanish. It lingers, hiding in the shadows, swelling with every lie, every wound they inflict. It waits, quietly accumulating, until one day it becomes too heavy to bury, too loud to ignore. This is the loop they can't escape. Each act of cruelty piles on another layer of guilt. And the more guilt they stash away, the harder they have to work to protect the mask. More manipulation, more control, more lies, and all the while, the rut eats away at them from the inside. 7. The House of Cards illusion. A narcissist's identity is nothing more than a delicate stack of cards, unstable, flimsy, and held together by perception. Every compliment, every scrap of admiration, is another card balancing on top. But here's the catch: the moment someone questions them, the second someone threatens to pull one card out of the pile, the whole structure trembles. Their entire life is a performance, built on an image of superiority and perfection. They must be seen as flawless, invincible, above it all. But when reality cuts through the illusion, when someone exposes the cracks in their mask, chaos erupts. They'll claw, twist, and scheme to keep the truth from slipping out. Not because of you, but because exposure is their greatest fear. To be unmasked as ordinary, fragile, insecure, flawed, is their ultimate nightmare. Here's the tragedy: the harder they fight to defend the illusion, the lonelier they become. In trying to control how the world sees them, they push away the very people who might have offered genuine connection. And so, the fortress they build becomes their prison. And that's the raw truth. Narcissists aren't soulless villains. They do feel. They feel deeply. They just bury it, deny it, suffocate it until even they can't tell it's there. But that buried shame? It's the ticking bomb behind every outburst, every lie, every act of manipulation. It's not only tearing you apart, it's corroding them from the inside out. They've constructed a life on illusions, a brittle castle that could collapse at the slightest touch. Every deception, every performance is just another frantic attempt to hide the cracks. Yet beneath it all, they're consumed by the terror of being seen for who they really are. So here's the choice. You can stay caught in their game, trapped in their cycle of shame and control, or you can step out, reclaim your power, and finally live free. If this hit home for you, make sure to subscribe. Tap that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and dive into the other videos on this channel, because the more truth you uncover, the stronger you become.